Part 142. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1413. OK. Zhang Zizai looked at the three realms. He and Zhang Junjian said goodbye with their eyes. They didn't have time to celebrate this success because there were more things to do next. He took Juxian's hand and went back to the three realms directly. In the third level of the three realms, his mother Ruohua, his aunt Ruoxiu, his sister-in-law Dong Yangjing and others had been waiting for their news in anxiety. When Zhang Zizai and Juxian arrived, they looked at them in a hurry, which showed how nervous they were at the moment. Zhang Yunhai, Zhang Yungxiao, and Zhang Yunwei are all dead. We succeeded. Now my brother is reorganizing the Peak Dragon clan. I came back to absorb the destruction curse. Zhang Zizai said it directly. There is no need to say how thrilling the process was. They guessed it? Okay, very good. Ruohua's nervous mood finally relaxed. She looked at her youngest son who had returned with iron blood with some tears. For her, he was really grown up and could really stand on his own. He is not injured? Dong Yangjing asked nervously. My brother is so brave, how could he be injured? Zhang Zizai smiled. Juxian is still here. If they want to ask for details, just tell Juxian. Zhang Zizai has more important things. He knows that his father must have heard what they did and heard that Zhang Yunhai was dead. After all, he was his younger brother. Maybe he would feel sad. Zhang Zizai can understand his feelings. It can only be said that having such a brother is a misfortune in life. The relationship between him and Zhang Junjian is not comparable to them. Their brotherhood is also what makes Zhang Yunding happy. Now, under the reconstruction of their brothers, the Peak Dragon clan has changed. They each have their own responsibilities. Zhang Junjian is responsible for preparation, while Zhang Zizai is responsible for strength. He took a deep breath and was ready. His own destructive power is now countless times stronger than the last time he came here. So now, he should be able to absorb more destructive curses. Do what you can. Juxian is still a little worried. The destructive curse is something that can make Zhang Yunding live a life worse than death. If he absorbs too much, no one knows what will happen. Zhang Zizai knew his limits. He said no more. He flew up the black fog and began to fuse the curse of destruction with his own power of the way of destruction. The endless black fog began to merge with his body. Every time he absorbed a little bit of the curse of destruction, his power continued to strengthen, and he became more brutal and violent. He carefully grasped the arrival of that limit. He wanted to make himself stronger and make his father suffer less, which required him to pay more. The destruction of the body and the vigorous growth of the way of destruction. His power of destruction had grown to a level that was enough to scare anyone between heaven and earth, but at this time, he could also clearly feel that he was more violent than ever. He had an infinite breath of destruction on him. He was now like a monster that wanted to destroy the universe. His power of destruction was boiling, and his reason was almost swallowed up. At this time, Zhang Zizai certainly knew that he had overdosed. This was not a good thing. He had to stop quickly. Fortunately, he could still control himself. At this critical moment, he escaped from the range of the black fog, but at this moment, his state was equally violent. Xiaobao. His mother and the others looked at him with great concern. Zhang Zizai gritted his teeth and looked back. He had absorbed 2/5 of the destruction curse, leaving only about 3/5. Almost half of the power of the destruction curse has now reached him. It can be seen how overbearing the power he has at this moment. He even found it difficult to control himself, which was very uncomfortable and worrying. In this irritability, he saw Juxian, and he didn't care so much at this time. He directly pulled Juxian from the third level of the three-level world to the second level, and then pounced on her like a beast. Only her gentleness and softness could calm Zhang Zizai, who was irritable at the moment. That snow-white body, like creamy skin, surging waves, panting, hip waves and breast waves, are all gentleness that can make people completely immersed in it. Only the most beautiful beauty in the world can have such an effect, which can completely cool down Zhang Zizai's irritability, or pour all of it on her, and let her gentleness resolve it. This battle was even longer. Poor Juxian was exhausted but still had to hold the little beast. Finally, when he was tired and fell asleep, she was also satisfied and buried his head in her arms, letting him enjoy the long-lost peace. After peace, Zhang Zizai will be even more powerful. When the flower of destruction became a human, it had the 7 emotions and 6 desires of human beings. No matter how violent the destruction was, it would be appeased by the beauty. It can be seen that beauty and sex are the most powerful weapons in the world. What kind of destructive power? It has to bow down under the pomegranate skirt. When Zhang Zizai woke up, looking at Juxian's intoxicated face, she knew how much she enjoyed it just now. After waking up, she couldn't help laughing and said coquettishly, "Now I realize that being a beautiful woman is really comfortable. You are a human-shaped electric drill." Damn hooligan, Zhang Zizai smiled. He checked it. Only he knew how much the power of destruction had expanded at this moment. 2/5 of the destruction curse had fallen on him. Your father is in good condition now. The remaining destruction curse is more than half. He is recuperating slowly now and feels much better. So your mother and the others have gone back to Peak Holy Dragon Mountain to help. Lingdang and the others have been placed in the ancient realm. After you wake up, we will go directly to Peak Holy Dragon Mountain to meet them and carry out the next plan. How long have I been asleep? Zhang Zizai asked. Not long, only 3 days. This is not bad. Everything is still in time. Kill Xuanhuan. After that, the real war will begin. The current Peak Dragon clan needs him very much. He and Juxian came out of the 3 realms, and in front of them was Peak Holy Dragon Mountain, which had been rearranged by Zhang Junjian and was completely in combat mode. You go in first, I'll wait for a while, Zhang Zizai suddenly said. What's wrong? You were so rude a few days ago, and everyone knew about it. How can I face them alone? People will be shy, Juxian joked. There is some movement in the Zilong Tower. Maybe I can dig it up again, Zhang Zizai said. Well, sister is thick-skinned anyway, it's just a loud shout, it's no big deal. Juxian made a face and blinked, then went to the Dragon Lord Palace first. Zhang Zizai took out the ancestral dragon tower in this void space. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1414. When the Zilong Tower appeared, Zhang Zizai could feel more clearly that it was calling him. Perhaps my power of destroying the heavenly way at this moment is finally enough to make this heavenly artifact from nowhere take a fancy to me. Or rather, this is not a heavenly artifact at all. The Zilong Tower has a total of 10 floors, and they have opened the 10th floor at this time, but in these 10 doors, it is the same world, not the 10 spaces that were divided before. Moreover, it used to be a void of darkness inside, but when Zhang Zizai walked in this time, he found that the surroundings had been lit up. This is a real world inside the tower. In this Zilong Tower, the most conspicuous are the 10 dragon statues, each of which is lifelike. The appearance of these statues is exactly what Zhang Zizai expected, which is exactly the appearance of the 10 illusory dragons in the Zilong Tower before. From the first to the last, it is like a real dragon coiled in this place, looking down at Zhang Zizai. In front of this group of dragons, as a destroyer of gods, I don't know why, I actually have a trembling feeling in my heart at this moment, just because these dragons are too high-end. If it weren't for the fact that my soul of the gods came from them, I might suppress it even more. Just after he came in, he suddenly found that these dragon statues were slowly shining, and there was a glow on their bodies, as if they were really alive, almost mistaking the real with the fake. When the dragon statues shone, his brain was almost buzzing, and it seemed that someone was talking from far to near. Zhang Zizai finally heard the words clearly. This voice from the depths of the Zilong Tower sounded like an introduction to the names of these statues. First, the Origin Dragon. Second, the Yuanqi Sacrifice Dragon. Third, the Taixijolong. Fourth, the Hunyuan Tianming Dragon. Fifth, the Shendaoliangzin Dragon. Sixth, the Taiji Life Dragon. Seventh, the Taigu Blood Dragon. Eighth, the Universe Honghuan Wanja Dragon. Ninth, the Phantom Dream Charm Dragon. 10th, Chaos Swallowing Heaven Dragon. Except for the 10th one, which is somewhat similar to the totem of Zhang Zizai when he was a god king, the others have basically never been heard of. The only thing he is a little confused about now is where the origin of the Supreme Dragon clan is connected to, because where the Chaos Swallowing Heaven, the source of evolution, came from, Zhang Yunting and Zhang Junjian actually don't know. Now, when the names of these dragons appear in his mind, when Zhang Zizai reads out their names, every time he reads out a name, the dragon statue seems to have a spirit again, as if it really has life. He also finds more and more that he seems to be thoroughly familiar with this ancestral dragon tower and understands its past and present lives. However, the progress is stuck at a key point. That is, the 9 dragon statues have all lit up, but only one is not shining, that is the 7th ranked Taigu Blood Spirit Dragon, which should be a blood-colored dragon, but now it is grey and dim. Zhang Zizai knows the reason. It was Yanner who got the blood-colored illusory dragon of the ancestral dragon tower and achieved the heavenly soul. This heavenly soul also allowed her to escape the suffering of the soul-piercing magic needle. It should be Yanner who is missing. Let her come over and try. Long Yan is still in the ancient realm. It will be a life and death battle soon. For Zhang Zizai, it must be safer there. He used the Black Dragon Talisman to open the Origin Cave and shuttled through the Origin Cave. The current ancient realm still simulates the appearance of the Origin continent. Yanner is practicing in Yanlongxiu. Seeing Zhang Zizai coming, she was a little surprised. She knew that Zhang Zizai was very busy now and would not come to see her normally. Moreover, he has reconciled with Juxian now. Are you here to see Lingling and see me? By the way, even so, he seemed to be inexplicably happy to appear in front of her. No, I came to find you. Come with me. But, aren't you going to fight to besiege the family? Will it affect you if I go there now? Of course not. Maybe I can help me. Zhang Zizai smiled and pulled her up to the sky, rushed into the Origin Cave, passed through the Origin Cave, returned to the ancestral dragon tower, and brought Long Yan in directly. Where is this ancestral dragon tower? She saw it at once. Look at that one. She followed Zhang Zizai's gaze and looked at the 7th dragon statue. She took a look and asked Zhang Zizai curiously, does this have anything to do with me? In fact, it goes without saying that when she arrived, this blood-colored dragon statue was no longer grey and white, and it began to shine with blood-colored light like the others. You read its name and summon it. What is its name? I know. Before she finished asking, she knew it. She should have heard the same type of summoning in the dark. Ancient Blood Spirit Dragon. This strange but familiar name almost made her eyes brimming with tears the moment it was called out. What's wrong, Yanner? Seeing her suddenly burst into tears, Zhang Zizai was a little flustered. I really want to see my parents. They are by my side, always accompanying me, but I can't find them. She looked around blankly with tears in her eyes. See her parents here? Zhang Zizai remembered that Zhang Junjian said she was special, but she thought, she wouldn't be so special, right? Is this Zilong Tower really related to his parents? At this time, the 7th statue of the Zilong Tower was no different from the others. When all the statues were shining, the Zilong Tower changed completely. A lot of information appeared in Zhang Zizai's mind. The power of his heavenly soul was completely invaded and completely controlled, and merged with the Zilong Tower, truly controlling this peerless weapon. He dared to say that this Zilong Tower was definitely the most terrifying divine weapon in the entire universe. It was so terrible that it almost surpassed the category of heavenly artifacts, making Zhang Zizai a little unsure how to classify it. The brilliant power that crushed the heavenly artifacts was a bit similar to his destruction of heaven. However, it was a completely opposite power. Zhang Zizai felt it. The power of the Zilong Tower seemed to merge the most eternal and greatest heavenly ways between heaven and earth. These heavenly ways are, soul, space, time, fate, cause and effect, living beings, dead souls, disasters, dreams, and devouring. When they merge together, their name is origin. Of course, they have a more suitable name, called creation. And creation is just the opposite of Zhang Zizai's destruction of the world. Controlling these two is like owning everything. The two are opposite, but they are mutually reincarnated. Now, when he uses the Zilong Tower, there should be a bigger surprise. It seems that he should be more confident in facing the real peak race war. Yesterday, I flew from Guangzhou to Beijing. I came back immediately after discussing things. It was already past 8 o'clock in the evening when I got home. I was a little tired from the long journey without sleep. I will update one chapter today. I will try to update more tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. Thank you. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1415. Zhang Zizai discovered that if he wanted to fully use the power of the ancestral dragon pagoda, Long Yan had to stay in the ancestral dragon pagoda. Without her, the ancestral dragon pagoda could only exert almost the same effect as before. It seems we can't keep you in a safe place. It's okay, I can help, of course it's best, Long Yan said with a smile. She did seem a little happier. Compared with endless worry and waiting, being completely isolated from Zhang Zizai's world is indeed better, and on the contrary, it feels safer. Zhang Zizai smiled. He nodded without saying much, and returned to the peak Shenlong mountain with Yan'er. This was the home of his ancestors, and it would also be his hometown from now on. Soon, he would fight for this hometown, and would rather die than surrender. Life and faith, for his family and tribe, for these beings who have the same bloodline as himself, he will protect this place from now on. His relatives are already here, and in the future battle of life and death, everyone is already standing on the front of sharing life and death. In the Dragon Lord's holy palace, Zhang Junjian, Ruo Hua, Zhang Yunfan, and Zhang Yunyin, along with nearly 2,000 gods, were discussing. When Zhang Zizai first came in, he heard them say that the peak Holy Dragon Guardian array had been adjusted and they had taken over. This was a very important totem array, the work of his ancestors for countless years. The main changes Zhang Yunhai made were to target Zhang Junjian, but the peak Holy Dragon Guardian formation would not change at all. It was basically to use the power of all living beings to fight against foreign enemies. Zhang Yunhai just turned Zhang Junjian and the others into foreign enemies, and the peak Holy Dragon Guardian array was only effective against them. He spent so many years modifying it, but it is very simple to change it back. He only needs to erase what he added to the totem array. That's it. With this peak Holy Dragon Guardian formation and Zhang Junjian sitting in charge, their homeland has basically been stabilized, and the number of gods now is much greater than before. 2,000 gods are in charge of the peak Holy Dragon Guardian formation. On their territory, their combat effectiveness will be increased. If an opponent of the same level wants to attack, it will be absolutely useless. Zizi, how do you feel? When Zhang Zizai arrived, everyone's eyes fell on him. Better than expected, Zhang Zizai said. He was the hope of his relatives and tribesmen. The atmosphere at this moment was extremely solemn. Before the decisive battle, they were actually not sure that they could defeat the four peak races. This atmosphere is even tragic. After all, the four peak races combined have nearly 8,000 gods, which is more than the peak dragon race at its peak. In recent years, they have robbed the resources of the peak dragon clan and have indeed grown greatly. Zhang Zizai's answer finally relaxed the tense atmosphere. The difference in strength between the enemy and us is very large. You are our greatest hope, Zhang Junjian said. I know, brother. In the heavy atmosphere, Zhang Zizai could at least see that everyone had an unyielding fighting spirit. Most of the people present had died once. They were not afraid of dying again at all. They were just worried about the future. There is no more peak dragon clan. So many sentient beings will be enslaved until death. Let's go out and have a look. You haven't had a good look at your hometown yet. Zhang Junjian stood up, and Zhang Zizai nodded and followed him. The two walked out of the Dragon Lord's holy palace and traveled around this place from top to bottom. World. In fact, I seem to remember this place in my dream. Every plant and tree here. I used to guard this place like I guarded the great Zhang city. You are our ancestors, the place where our blood originated, our home and everything, Zhang Junjian said with emotion. They did not hide their identities, and if they met anyone, they would affectionately call them young master and little young master. People from the Peak Dragon clan have good temperaments, are tough and upright. Zhang Zizai can tell that at a glance. He has always been looking for a place to belong, and he has never been there since he left Daejiang King City. It was only at this time that he found his true home. He also loves every piece of land here. Little master, brother, can you defeat the enemy? A little girl ran not far away and looked at him hopefully. He is already so famous, and now everyone knows that Zhang Yunting also has a son. No, I will be beaten to pieces by the enemy, Zhang Zizai said. Haha, then I must record it to see how you pee. Unexpectedly, she was not afraid. Zhang Zizai asked her if she was afraid of death. I'm not afraid. I'm just afraid of living without dignity and that we will lose our home, the little girl said seriously. Home. Zhang Zizai looked at the vast world. Yes, this is his home. After leaving here, Zhang Junjian said in a deep voice, the day you went to absorb the curse of destruction, I had already sent people to investigate. Even though I had blocked the news about the entire peak Holy Dragon Mountain, the four peak races still got it a few days ago. He received the news that Zhang Yunhai died in the battle and that we have returned. Too many people are watching, and this kind of news cannot be hidden. Judging from the results of the investigation, they are ready to leave. Of course, we are also ready for the battle, but before that, there is one thing that you may need to do alone. It is better to take the initiative than to stick to it. A choice. They have killed us once thousands of years ago for the flower of destruction, and they will only be more ruthless this time. Once upon a time in this place, the corpses of Zhang Zizai's ancestors lay everywhere. What's going on? The four top races are definitely going to take action. If we want to resist them, we have some psychological preparation, but the living beings are also a hidden danger for us. Since they will frame the matter of the living beings tree species as the theft of my uncle, they may also join them under the threat of the four top races. You mean, the last time the living beings wanted to stay out of trouble, they finally escaped, but this time, the four top races will drag them into the water and not let them sit on the mountain and watch the tiger fight, Zhang Zizai asked. This is not my guess, but it really happened. As far as I know, they should have discussed it. Now the Rebirth Soul Clan, the Time Beast Clan and the Void Beast Clan have gathered people and are preparing to come in large numbers. The Fantasy Sky Dream Clan, which is closest to the Living Beings Clan, has set off an hour ago, but the direction they are heading is not here, but the direction of the Living Beings Clan. If my guess is correct, they should be going to drag the Living Beings Clan into the water. Aren't they worried about having one more opponent in the fight for the Flower of Destruction? Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1416. Of course we are not afraid, because the Living Spirits clan used to be the most obedient to us. In that war, the Living Spirits clan did not stand on the same front with them. If we can destroy us by joining forces with them, they will immediately drive the Living Spirits clan away first. If I guess correctly, they say they are joining forces, but they just want to make the Living Spirits clan cannon fodder. Zhang Junjian saw it very clearly. Although there are often conflicts between the four peak races, they will definitely stand together in the matter of the Flower of Destruction. After all, they have experience in joining forces. The Living Spirits clan did not participate in it the first time, and it is difficult for them to really participate this time. What I have to do is to go to the Living Spirits clan immediately and persuade them to help us. Maybe I can even unite with them and fight the Fantasy Dream clan first. Zhang Zizai quickly guessed Zhang Junjian's intention. Yes. I will continue to prepare here. Time is running out. The other three tribes may set off at any time. As long as they set off, they will arrive here soon. What is the method? Like last time, our uncle should make a choice. The key is whether you can give him a new surprise now, Zhang Junjian asked. That's absolutely no problem, Zhang Zizai said with a smile. Let's go. Zhang Junjian patted his shoulder, took a deep breath, and said, Zizai, all this is related to the survival of our tribe, and also to the life and death of our father. We two brothers have a heavy responsibility. Are you afraid in your heart? Brother, are you afraid? Zhang Zizai asked. I am a little worried. After all, the price of failure is to lose everything, and the end is too tragic. Yes, but if we succeed, we can get everything and rebuild our glory. Life is such a gamble. It's either heaven or earth. So, what can we do? Believe in ourselves, believe in our brothers, and fight to the death, Zhang Zizai said with fiery eyes. In fact, his belief is stronger than Zhang Junjian, who shoulders the heavy responsibility. Fight to the death, Zhang Junjian gritted his teeth and said. 8,000 gods, 4 to 5 gods of the 5th level, and now they only have 2 brothers and 2,000 gods. Can they resist with this peak Holy Dragon Guard formation? However, if the belief is strong to the extreme, no one can say who will be the final winner until the end. Zhang Zizai took Juxian and Yan'er away. With them, he has the strongest fighting power. They are temporarily in the Zilong Tower. Zhang Zizai needs to move forward at full speed and reach the Shengling Yuan clan before the Huantianmen clan. He took a look. In the face of major events, Juxian would not be jealous, and she did not hate Yan'er. In the Zilong Tower, she also took good care of Yan'er, which did not embarrass Zhang Zizai at all. Do you know why I am so confident in you? Juxian suddenly whispered to him. Why? I have confidence that I will make you hand in all the food and grass every day, and you will not have the strength to see other beauties, she chuckled. Oh my god, older women are perverts, Zhang Zizai joked. Damn, you're looking for death. I'll twist you apart and let you live in peace. After joking with her for a while, suddenly, the disaster of the race and family didn't seem so heavy. Who cares what kind of peak race they are, let's fight them, Juxian said. Yeah. What the hell? Go to hell. Zhang Junjian gave him a list. The people on this list were all gods who had brought heavy damage to the Peak Dragon clan. Each of them had killed at least 2 gods of the Peak Dragon clan. They were basically the strong men of the 4 peak races. Everyone on this list deserved to die. No matter what ethnic blood flows in your body, you must do things that are worthy of your ancestors. We are of the same race and we have the same blood. It's not that easy to destroy us. He rushed to the Yuan clan of living beings at the fastest speed at the moment. The Huantianmen clan had a large army of more than 1,000 gods marching, and their speed could not be as fast as Zhang Zizai, so they were closer. Even if they had set out directly, Zhang Zizai was sure to reach the Yuan clan of living beings before them. Sure enough, when he arrived in front of the tree, he did not see the Huantianmen clan, but he could see that the Holy Spirit Guardian Totem formation of the Living World tree had been activated. This was the same type of totem formation as the Peak Holy Dragon Guardian formation. It seems that they have already had worries and know how to protect themselves. The current origin place is about to fall into chaos. After Zhang Zizai came here, he calmed down and said outside, "Nephew Zhang Zizai, I want to see the Master of Life." His voice echoed directly between heaven and earth, and directly reached the depths of the World Tree of Life, causing a stir. Almost the entire Life clan heard it. The news about Zhang Zizai has been spreading these days. What he did when he killed Zhang Yunhai has already shaken the Life clan. Just when the World Tree of Life was in chaos, it didn't take long for many gods to appear from here. They gathered together, about 1,400 people, which was all the gods of the World Tree of Life. They were also alert and returned here from all over the origin. The leader was of course the Master of Life and the Queen of Life. Not far behind them, the cousin Ruokan who was defeated by Zhang Zizai was also in the crowd, looking at Zhang Zizai alone with a bad face and doubt. "Just you," they appeared in front of Zhang Zizai, but did not come out of the Holy Spirit Guardian Totem formation, and Zhang Zizai did not go in either. "I'll be alone after returning to the Yuan clan." Zhang Zizai smiled and looked calm. "You are still wandering around, aren't you afraid of being caught and killed by the four peak races? I think you should quickly return to the Peak Holy Dragon Guardian formation and hide. You are so impulsive that you have already caused a big disaster," the Yuan clan of living beings said coldly. Zhang Zizai smiled and said indifferently, "It seems that the person who fabricated Zhang Yunyan's theft of living tree seeds, called Zhang Yunhai in advance, and ambushed us is you, the Yuan clan. This matter is a taboo in the Yuan clan of living beings. Whether it was given by the Yuan clan master himself or stolen by Zhang Yunyan, no one dared to discuss it, because it was a matter between the Yuan clan master and his wife. So what? Are you here for revenge today? Just by yourself?" the Yuan clan of living beings sneered. "What's there to retaliate for? It's enough for Queen Yuan to admit the truth. After all, we should clear my uncle's name. He has never stolen anything. Of course, it's also because Zhang Yunhai himself doesn't have much ability. Even if he knew we were coming in advance and ambushed us, the trouble he caused us wouldn't be much. So let's forget about this matter. After all, my uncle gave us the spirit tree seeds, which is also a favor. Since it's a small matter, it's not worth mentioning," Zhang Zizai said with a smile. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1417. Telling the truth in advance would probably destroy Zhang Zizai and the others. He actually said that such a big thing was a trivial matter, and looked like he didn't take it to heart at all, as if their defeat and killing of Zhang Yunhai was nothing but a trivial matter. "Zhang Zizai, you are too young, so don't pretend to be fat. It will only make you look childish," the Queen of Creature Yuan said with disdain. "Okay," the Master of Creation Yuan waved his hand to signal the Empress of Creation Yuan to shut up. He stared at Zhang Zizai and said, "I can see that the destructive power in you is stronger than before, much stronger. Is this all obtained by killing Zhang Yunhai and the others?" He saw clearly. "That's right, I am now destruction itself. I only need to kill the way of heaven, and there will be no end. Never ending? Even surpassing your father. If I kill all the masters of the four peak races, I probably won't be too far behind," Zhang Zizai said. "Bragging again, haha." Ruokan couldn't help laughing. "It was your brother and Zhang Yunfan and Zhang Yunyan who killed Zhang Yunhai and the others, not you. Why are you pretending to be here?" "Shut up," the living soul master glared at him. He was already very angry when he revealed the living tree species to Zhang Yunhai. This was tantamount to stabbing him in the back. Zhang Zizai and the others didn't mind, so he just already ashamed. Because doing this is indeed very tasteless. If you don't want to borrow it, you can just not borrow it, rather than lending it out and stabbing someone again. After telling Ruokan and the Living Queen to shut up, he asked Zhang Zizai again, "So what is your purpose today?" Zhang Zizai got straight to the point and said, "Uncle, if you want to be on your own this time, it's basically impossible. Even if I don't come, they won't let you sit on the mountain and watch the tiger fight again. They expect that they will have a certain degree of success this time. The casualties will not allow you to recuperate. As far as I know, you should also know that the Huantian Dream Clan is already on its way to the World Tree of Life, right? They must have had people investigating as well." The Life Master didn't respond, which was actually his acquiescence. They had gathered together long ago because they knew the other party would come. It's just that Zhang Zizai arrived faster. "Go on. On behalf of my father, mother, aunt, our brothers, and the sentient beings of the Peak Dragon Clan, I ask the Soul Yuan Clan to stand by our side and help us this time," Zhang Zizai said sincerely. "Although they are not strong, if they join the other 4 peak races, the Peak Dragon race will basically be out of luck." Hearing this, some of the gods of the Living Soul tribe laughed under the leadership of the Living Soul Queen. Most of them remained serious like the Living Soul Master. They all had unique thinking abilities. "Reason," the Primordial Master said solemnly. Zhang Zizai didn't like sweet words, so he said directly, "First, it has something to do with me. How much I have become stronger from the time I borrowed the living tree to this moment. My uncle can send someone to test it, or he can test it himself. This powerful change means that what are you talking about? I believe everyone can understand. I am not being arrogant, but telling a fact. We dare to fight back to the place of origin this time, not without support. The flower of destruction has no end, as long as we pass this level, as long as we reach the peak. If the Dragon Clan is able to take revenge, then my father will definitely return, and I will also become the Lord of Destruction. By the way, half of my father's curse of destruction has been eliminated, and he is not far away from returning." This sounded like a threat, but the Living Soul Master knew that Zhang Zizai didn't mean it. He was just showing it so that the Living Soul Master could see clearly. "Then what?" asked the Primordial Master of Creatures. "Secondly, if my uncle chooses to take another path, and go with the 4 peak races, I believe you can also expect that they will not stand on the same front with you on this matter, and it is more likely that you will be cannon fodder. Even if they succeed, they will first eliminate you all when they divide the spoils. The reason why they came to you this time is not that they are not sure of taking us, but that they do not want the living beings to be unscathed in this war. I believe they all understand this. This should also be a point of worry for the Life Master. So what you have in mind is pretty good, and you want us to be cannon fodder for your Peak Dragon Clan," the Creature UN Queen couldn't help but sneered. This is related to the third point. "Third, as long as you agree to come together with us, we will give you enough respect. After all, we are all true relatives and friends. This is my mother's hometown, and I have never really resented the Living UN Clan for not helping us. This time, if we can fight together, I am sure that the Huantian Dream Clan will be severely damaged and withdraw from the battlefield without damaging the foundation of the Living UN Clan at all." When these words were spoken, the effect was great, and some people even laughed. For example, the Empress of Creation UN said, "We were unscathed, and we relied on you to fight with more than 1,600 gods of the Huantianmen clan and inflict heavy losses on them. Are you dreaming, Zhang Zizai? It's empty talk. How about giving it a try then?" Zhang Zizai didn't want to lie. "How to try? As long as we try, won't we just follow your path and make them think that we have fought side by side with you," said the Creature Yuanho. Zhang Zizai, when the Queen of Life Yuan just finished speaking, the Lord of Life Yuan shouted Zhang Zizai's name instead. He is the one who truly represents the will of the Life Yuan clan. He was among the people looking up to him. Asked word for word, you just said that you are much stronger than the last time you defeated Ruokan, so let me see how much stronger you are. That's it? Sure enough, this uncle can still see the situation clearly. He knows what kind of hope Zhang Zizai carries. It can be said that Zhang Zizai's performance in the future will completely determine whether the Peak Dragon clan has a future. Okay, Zhang Zizai nodded. Don't be fooled by him, the Queen of Life Yuan said hurriedly. From now on, shut up. You don't have the final say in the Life Yuan clan. I will also consider everyone's opinions. After saying that, he glanced at his wife coldly, and then said to Zhang Zizai, if you can satisfy me, we will give you some help when the Fantasy Sky Dream clan arrives, but you are not going to conquer me, but all the gods of our Life Yuan clan. So, when the Fantasy Sky Dream clan arrives, you have to show them, otherwise, we can't help the Peak Dragon clan. Of course, he knew that when everyone was involved in the war in the land of origin, it was completely impossible for the Life Yuan clan to escape. The regret at the beginning may have hoped to be solved. He glanced at Zhang Zizai. In fact, Zhang Zizai's appearance had a lot of Ruohua's shadow. It had been too long since he had seen her. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1418. He stared at Zhang Zizai, dismissed all opinions, walked out of the Holy Spirit Guardian Totem array, and came to Zhang Zizai's eyes. Seeing how the other gods were curious about Zhang Zizai, the Empress of the Creature Yuan knew that this time the Master of the Creature Yuan had set a test again, and they were interested in observing. As long as they were interested, it would be useless for her to say anything for the time being. You want the Huan Tianmeng clan to retreat, are you just talking nonsense? Is it that simple to practice god cultivation? She couldn't help but sneer. But mother, he is not a god. Ruokan said with a headache. His father said this. Zhang Zizai is not a god. Don't look at him with the mind of a god. He is the flower of destruction and the origin of the flower of God. Reverse side. In their attention, the Soul Master directly summoned the power of the 5 heavenly ways. He circulated the power of the 5 heavenly ways. The 5 majestic heavenly ways formed a spherical shield next to his body. The shield was very thick. 1,000 feet long, is a huge sphere, and the living Soul Master is in the center of this shield, invulnerable. His 5 heavenly powers are intertwined with each other in this sphere, and they are interlocking. This kind of shield can be said to be at its peak, and no one can break it. He stared at Zhang Zizai and said, I'll give you an hour. The Huan Tianmen clan will arrive in almost an hour. If you can break through my heavenly shield in this hour, then you can deal with Huan Tianmen next clan, at least I can help you. How to truly conquer my gods and make them willing to fight for you depends on you. Even if I order them, they will not fight for you. What he meant was simple. By breaking the heavenly shield, he could help Zhang Zizai. But whether the entire Yuan clan of creatures can fight and take risks for Zhang Zizai depends on what Zhang Zizai can do. Can. If that's the case, then you have to do your best. An hour? Zhang Zizai looked at the 1,000-foot thick heavenly shield in front of him and smiled slightly. In fact, what he was least afraid of his destructive power was attack, and what he was least afraid of was destruction. If the creature master does not fight him and allows him to attack, then things will become simple. His way of destruction has improved too much, and after absorbing nearly half of the curse of destruction, at this moment, he has not really verified his destructive power, but he knows it well. At this moment, he held the 6-way Thunder Flame Divine Pillar in his hand. Among the heavenly artifacts in the entire place of origin, these 6-way thunder flame divine pillar were considered to be among the best, just like the 9 dragons chaos divine bell. Zhangzai and North China Sunyo, holding the 6-ray thunder flame divine pillar, penetrated all the destructive power of heaven into it, and rushed towards the living soul master. His destructive power burst out at this moment, and the heaven and earth were fighting. The entire world tree of life seemed to be withering. If it were not protected by the totem array, all the land above might have collapsed. This is a very terrifying force, the nemesis of living creatures and all things. Break. Destruction is least afraid of the shield of heaven. For any heaven, under the power of almost the same level of destruction, destruction will be a matter of time. Attacking the heavenly Deo purely with the destruction of heavenly Deo, and when the amount of his destructive power is infinitely close to the opponent, and even after incorporating the power of the destruction curse into it, the power of the stick shakes the world. Boom! In an instant, the heavenly Deo was destroyed like a broken bamboo. The heavenly Deo shield was instantly shattered. The 1,000-foot-thick heavenly Deo shield was directly shattered. The power of the 5 heavenly Deo was disrupted and turned upside down. They were all taken back by the living creature master. This is equivalent to Zhang. With just one stick, he completed the test of the living soul master. He put away the divine artifact very easily, and when he took a closer look, the entire people of the Yuan clan were looking at him blankly, with completely unresponsive expressions, because they were prepared to see the time in 1 hour, not 3. Interest time. Among them were the living soul queen and her son Ruokan. They were thinking about the words of ridicule, but without saying anything, it all ended. She looked at the living soul lord in disbelief, because she felt that only the living soul lord was free. Only then can such a result be produced. It's just that she is familiar with her husband, and this is the first time she sees him looking at a young man in such shock. He may have never been so shocked in his life. Then, he said tremblingly, even those in the Teishu heavenly god realm of the same level can't break my heavenly shield like this. Only your father can do it. He was stunned. Uncle, I haven't reached that level yet. The reason why I can destroy is because my destructive power itself restrains all the ways of heaven. When the gap between my strength and yours is not big, I can put aside other means and just fight. With strength, it is really too easy for me to break this heavenly shield. Zhang Zizai is still quite modest. This is the truth, but even if he says this, others will definitely not underestimate him anymore. But he didn't expect that when he clearly showed that he was the nemesis of heaven, people would be even more shocked, because they were all practitioners of heaven, and they were all gods. If Zhang Zai crushed heaven, wouldn't he be destined to crush everyone? Last time, his strength was only enough to defeat Ruokan. After this battle, he has been able to break through the heavenly shield of the Taishan divine realm. He is so powerful. In such a short period of time. This is the really scary part, no one knows how he will grow next. So even the queen of creatures has a dry throat at this time and doesn't know what to say. Okay, I've passed this level. What do you want to do when the Fantasy Sky Dream clan arrives, said the living spirit Yuan Lord. He was very straightforward, not at all fussy. He listened to the words of the living spirit Yuan Queen and did not participate in the war, allowing the living spirit Yuan clan to survive, but it does not prove that the living spirit Yuan Queen is always right. He also has his own judgment. Zhang Zizai did not hide it either. He said, please ask uncle to stop other gods for me. I want to deal with the Fantasy Sky Dream Lord alone. I want to kill him alone. The former Fantasy Sky Dream Lord brought countless casualties and disasters to the Peak Dragon clan. Zhang Junjian's previous heavy injuries also had a part in him. If they meet here on a narrow road, killing him is Zhang Zizai's choice. Are you sure? The living spirit Yuan Lord said with narrowed eyes. He had heard the exclamations of the gods behind him. He could see that he really underestimated the courage of this nephew. Zhang Yunding personally trained him for revenge. He is definitely not a fool. I don't, but I want to try, Zhang Zizai said seriously. Very good, I can create a chance for you to fight alone, but whether you can succeed depends on your own luck. If you can kill him, or make the Huan Tianmen clan flee in terror, I believe that without me saying anything, all the creatures in my Yuan clan will follow you to fight. Therefore, my opinion is no longer important. If you want people to fight for you willingly, Zhang Zizai, show your performance. No problem, Zhang Zizai nodded. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Feng Qingyang. Chapter 1419. He quite likes this uncle. He is indeed very straightforward and direct. He does not hide things, which makes communication easier. He doesn't have to worry about anything, he just needs to express himself and fight. It's very simple. When it comes to this level, the primordial queen of creatures has no room to refute. She just thought that Huan Tian Dream Lord had existed for such a long time, and if he was so easy to kill, and Zhang Zizai did it alone, then Zhang Zizai would be really scary. In the future, the world will belong to their family. With Ruohua's relationship, the future of the living Yuan clan will not be too bad. In terms of their character, they are still reassuring. After all, the Peak Dragon clan was originally when the Supreme clan was a clan, they never oppressed the space of other peak races. On the contrary, after their decline, they invaded too much of the territory of the Peak Dragon clan. An hour is not too long. In less than an hour, Zhang Zizai had already seen the arrival of an army of about 1,600 Huan Tianmen celestial gods. They were a group of people who seemed to be in a dream. Their team looked like there were thousands of gods, and sometimes there seemed to be only one person. Anyway, it was so psychedelic that it even seemed like it was a world of its own. The Huan Tian Dream Clan controls all the means of psychedelic changes between heaven and earth. In their world, it is too difficult to distinguish between true and false, false and true, and they live in dreams. Create their own glory, even without waking up from their dreams. They are a very strange clan among the 6 peak races. Their strength is not the strongest among the 4 peak races, but they are indeed the most unpredictable. Zhang Zizai only took a glance at Huan Tian Dream Lord, an unparalleled beauty. To be honest, there was so much more to her beauty than just looks. That was enough power to control anyone's aesthetics. Everyone was instantly conquered and felt that this was definitely the most beautiful woman in the world. When Zhang Zizai saw her for the first time, he even thought she was more beautiful than the 9 Immortals. This is no longer a matter of facial features and figure, but of supreme beauty, beauty that cannot be described in words, perfection in imagination, without any shortcomings. All details, even a fingernail, seem to be between heaven and earth. The most perfect creation. It's a pity that despite such a beautiful work, Zhang Zizai's desire to kill has not wavered, because he has seen the image talisman, and she knows that this Huan Tian Dream Master has killed many of his flesh and blood compatriots, seriously injured Zhang Junjian, and almost caused him to reach his peak. The Dragon Clan was exterminated. Master of the creature Yuan, you are well, that beautiful voice is enough to make the entire creature Yuan clan intoxicated. It can be conquered by both men and women. Her voice actually contains the peak of psychedelic illusion. Power, to be honest, she is equivalent to the strengthening of the 9 Immortals. The path the 9 Immortals take is actually her path, and she is the future direction of the 9 Immortals. You're welcome. In addition, I also know your intention of coming this time. I won't say any more nonsense. Today, in addition to you, we have a special guest here. I don't know the Master Huan Tianmen and Huan Tianmen, the gods of the clan. Have you noticed him? The primordial master narrowed his eyes and said, this is a very dangerous opponent, and he is unwilling to deal with him anyway. Illusion, time, space, and soul, These 4 peak races are all very difficult to deal with. Oh, I didn't expect the Master of Creatures to be so straightforward. Let me see what kind of guest he is. There was a trace of a smile in the voice of Dream Master Xuanhuan, which sounded like he was strategizing. No need to look for it, I'm right here. Zhang Zizai was the one who looked at her with the hottest eyes among all the people. This guy is quite beautiful, even Zhu Xian couldn't help but say after seeing it. I'll show you the head later, Zhang Zizai said. Tch, straight man. Although Zhu Xian despised him, he was still happy in his heart. This was Zhang Zizai's standard answer. When he spoke, Huantian Dream Master noticed him. When Huantian Dream Master took a look, the world changed. Everyone around him, including the 9 immortals, disappeared, and only this breathtaking beauty stood in front of him. Looked at him lovingly, and said softly, I recognize you, you are Zhang Yunting's youngest son, Zhang Zizai, who was only born more than 30 years ago, right? Her voice, appearance, and everything she showed were enough to make people at the 4th level of the gods collapse instantly. The only one who fell under her pomegranate skirt was Zhang Zizai, who was expressionless and said coldly, it's good to know you, old witch. You know I'm young, but you still come to seduce me. Take a piss and look in the mirror. How can you compare to a 20-year-old girl? Buzz. Her illusion of heaven was completely destroyed in front of Zhang Zizai's words. Everything in front of her eyes dissipated. The Dream Master of the fantasy sky was still standing in the distance, with countless gods behind her. She squinted her eyes, surprised. Looking at Zhang Zizai ferociously, this was the first time since ancient times that she had been ridiculed like this. Master of Creatures, what do you mean? Since he appears here, can I kill him directly? She doesn't know yet that Zhang Zizai is the flower of destruction. If she knew, she probably wouldn't ask questions. Before, only the 3 living soul masters knew about it, but today there are more gods of the living soul clan who know about it. Okay. Zhang Zizai came all the way here, and he also asked me for help, but he didn't ask me to help him fight you, but asked me to stop your men. He said he wanted to commit suicide alone. You, what do you think? Introduce this life and death challenge, the primordial master said calmly. This sentence simply exceeded the imagination of all the Huantianmen clan. They were all stunned, and then they made mocking sounds. They all thought they heard the psychedelic voice. A kid in his 30s, defeated our Huantian Dream Master. Zhang Yunting, what kind of monster did you cultivate? Is there something wrong with your brain? They really couldn't hide their laughter, after all, it was so funny. Even Huantian Dream Master herself smiled, but her smile gradually disappeared. She nodded and said, I can see that he has the power of destruction. It may be that he is related to the flower of destruction in order to grow. At this point, maybe you can use some of the power of the flower of destruction, so you have the courage to take risks. You want to deal with me first and relieve the pressure on your brother. It is indeed a good idea. However, such a gambler will be very disappointed if he loses. Tragic. Except for fighting, if you say one more word, I will think that the so-called Huantian Dream Master is a waste that even I am afraid of. I have enough courage to stand here, do you still want to talk nonsense? Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1420. The power of Zhang Zizai's words was too fierce. The gap between his status, age, and generation between him and Huantian Menzu was too big. They could not imagine that Zhang Zizai would say such a provocative word. After saying this, Huantian Menzu stopped talking. Instead, it was the living spirit Yuanzu who spoke. He said, if you can kill Zhang Zizai, our living spirit Yuan clan will follow you. This is the purpose of the Huantianmen clan's arrival. Of course, if Zhang Zizai died, the Peak Dragon clan would have lost all hope. They would definitely have to board the warships of the 4 peak races. At most, they would be a little bit mean and firmly stated that they did not need to share the spoils. This sentence was also very tempting to Huan Tianmenzhu. She saved a lot of effort and could directly join other peak races. It was obviously easier for the peak races to kill the peak Holy Dragon Mountain. She had made a decision. When she waved her hand to the people behind her, the gods all knew what she meant. They all retreated. They had no idea. If the Huantian Dream Lord couldn't take down Zhang Zizai, and even put himself in danger, then there was no need to continue this war. In their hearts, the Huantian Dream Lord was the god among gods, the supreme ancestor. Her will was everything to the Huantian Dream clan. When she had decided to kill someone, whoever interfered would be in trouble. The living beings Xuanhuan had long returned to the Holy Spirit Guardian Totem formation. They were fighting outside the Totem formation, which would not have any effect on the Totem formation. The gods of the Huantian Dream clan also left far enough away, so at this time, only Zhang Zizai and the Huantian Dream Lord stood opposite each other here. He had seen that this woman was completely in a fighting state. She said nothing, but just wanted to send Zhang Zizai to hell in an instant. The flower of destruction is on me. Do you have the ability to take it away? Zhang Zizai suddenly smiled. His confidence put pressure on his opponent, making her both strategic and inexplicably doubtful. However, Zhang Zizai would not give her any time. When the conditions for fighting were met, he would directly bring up the rhythm. He could not give the other party a moment's breathing opportunity. He had long understood what the other party had. In fact, the ability of the illusionary Heavenly Dream Lord to fight alone was not too strong, about the same as the living spirit Yuan Lord, but she still had helpers of the same level beside her, so she would be very scary, just like the 9 Immortals enhancement of Zhang Zizai. Her 5 heavenly ways are called, Great Dream Heavenly Way, Soul-Stirring Heavenly Way, Fantasy Heavenly Way, Heavenly Tribulation Heavenly Way, Traceless Heavenly Way. These 5 heavenly ways are all illusory abilities, making her ethereal, invisible, and unpredictable. She can create a whole illusory world, making people sink into it forever. Anyway, all falsehoods can become real in her hands. The most terrifying thing about her is that her heavenly Dao cannot be blocked. If it is an ordinary attack, it can be blocked, such as Zhang Yunhai and others, but her means are all pervasive, more of a spiritual power, only a strong heavenly soul can resist and see through it. Most of the time, even the Taishan heavenly god realm of the same level will fall into her rhythm. At this time, Zhang Zizai could already feel the pressure from her. Everything in front of him was changing, even the contents of his own mind were changing. All the illusions were showing in a chaotic way, disturbing his state of mind, and even his body and head gradually became very heavy. For a while, he was lost in a dream, and the illusionary heavenly dream master in front of him seemed to be in the void, and he couldn't find her position at all. Her traceless heavenly Dao was actually the heavenly Dao above the void. In this way, Zhang Zizai fell into a terrifying environment in an instant. In a blink of an eye, he was pulled into many worlds and experienced many ruthless life and death. These are the opponent's heavenly Dao power. Her attack was gentle, just like water, but water kills people by suffocation. In this illusion, he could experience it countless times in a moment, and even kill himself. The world changed, as if he had lived 3 lives, with love and hatred. She, the dream master of the fantasy sky, even became his wife, and then killed himself on the wedding night, and was with another man, etc. It was terrible, everything was so real, Zhang Zizai was about to explode. She was indeed the super illusion master of the entire universe. She could create the entire world and all the living beings. Everyone had their own story, immortal, fake and real, and even true and false were not important. Those created living beings were just like they had really lived this life. He had personally experienced the horror of this opponent. But he had been prepared. Zilong Tower. At this moment, under the opponent's crazy suppression, Zilong Tower appeared and rose against the sky. When Long Yan was in it, its true power also broke out. In life and death, Zhang Zizai was particularly cold-blooded. I asked you to do these junks. All illusions are useless tricks in front of the power of destruction. The real Zilong Tower has two forms and two terrifying abilities. Zilong Realm. At this moment, the Zilong Tower suppressed down, and an endless huge world was born. That world was extremely huge, a supreme divine realm like the origin of the land, and billions of small worlds were born. This world, as huge as the universe, was directly suppressed on the battlefield. This is the power of the Zilong Tower, the creation of the Zilong Tower, and the destruction of the world by the way of heaven. The traceless way of heaven is also one of the ways of heaven. Under the way of heaven, nothing can escape. The suppression of the ancestral dragon realm shook, and the invisible fantasy heavenly dream lord suddenly appeared. She was suppressed and her face turned pale. She was in a daze in front of the ancestral dragon tower. She had never witnessed such a terrible heavenly artifact between heaven and earth. No wonder she is so confident. It turns out that she is using the heavenly artifact. She has not been defeated yet. She also has a heavenly artifact. At this moment, a huge eye appeared between heaven and earth. The eye is as big as a world. It is the heavenly artifact, the eye of heaven. The eye of heaven instantly locked onto Zhang Zizai. For a moment, his heavenly soul felt a terrible sting. In the sting, the world changed again. The fantasy heavenly Dao broke through the suppression of the ancestral dragon tower and made a comeback again. Zhang Zizai was in danger. It's over, but suddenly, the words he said with his eyes closed were so terrible. After some unknown reason, the ancestral dragon realm disappeared. When the entire ancestral dragon tower appeared in front of him as a giant sword, he grasped the giant sword. When he opened his eyes, he broke through all illusions. The tip of the giant sword pointed directly at the position of the Huantian Dream Master. Then, he killed with one sword. This sword is called the Creation Sword. However, under the dominance of the power of destruction, creation and destruction have merged together. This is destined to be the most terrifying sword in life and death. In front of this supreme power, the creation and destruction of the world are mixed in one sword, and all illusions and illusions are instantly shattered. At this moment, the Huantian Dream Master looked at all this in a daze, as weak as a dog. End of chapter 6. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1421. The Sword of Creation contains the highest heavenly laws of soul, space, time, etc., and the cause and effect, judgment, fate and killing are all in it, but it is exerted with the power of destruction. Suddenly, when creation and destruction are combined, the most incredible power between heaven and earth is born. Only after experiencing it personally did the Dream Master know the horror of this power. All his magic heavenly laws collapsed one after another under this power. The magic heavenly law is simply a joke in front of this power. Even her traceless heavenly law cannot be invisible. She seems to have escaped to the ends of the earth. As long as it is the power of heaven, Zhangziu will be crushed invisibly, and she will be completely exposed to Zhangziu's lethality. That sword transcends eternity, transcends heaven and earth, transcends the universe, and transcends eternity. The sword of creation from the Zilong sword created a world of heavenly laws, and then destroyed it at the moment of birth, generating endless power of creation and destruction, forming reincarnation, eternal and immortal. Under this power, the illusionary heavenly Dream Master was stunned. She was confused and in pain. She was always confusing others, true and false, real and fake, until she didn't even know her own truth and falsehood. So much so that when she disappeared in the sword of creation, she seemed to be in a dream, confusing all living beings for a lifetime, and finally she was backfired by the illusionary heavenly Dao and fell into a dream. In a dream, in a deep sleep, he can reach endless eternity. But in front of Zhang Zizai, in front of the real world, everything about her has disappeared. Zhang Zizai, how can you be sure that your life up to this moment is not a boring dream? At the last moment, the laughter of the illusionary heavenly dream master echoed in Zhang Zizai's ears. Then you are even more pitiful. You are just a loser in my dream. I don't care whether it is true or not, as long as you die. Other things, it doesn't matter, I have nothing to fear. Zhang Zizai grinned, and finally burst out with crazy power. All her heavenly ways were annihilated at this moment, and the Huantian Dream Lord, who had existed for countless years, died on the spot. Such a creation sword, even if all the Huantian Dream Lords caught up to protect it, it would be too late at this time. This is the peak contest of the Origin Land, and ordinary people can't participate at all. People clearly felt the horror of Zhang Zizai's creation sword, and also clearly saw that the Huantian Dream Lord, who was high above and controlled one of the peak races of Luda, disappeared, and nothing was left. This is not a magic illusion, this is the real everything. Everything was silent and dead. Maybe many people in the Huantian Dream clan haven't understood it yet. They may think that this is a deception of the Huantian Dream Lord. In fact, she is still alive and she can still appear to defeat Zhang Zizai, but they have waited for a long time before gradually realizing that there may be no Huantian Dream Lord in this world. They would not believe it. All the Fantasy Sky Dream clan were too used to wandering in the dreamland of truth and falsehood. They were used to seeing false things. When the truth had already happened, it was already false to them. So, it was strange that when seeing the eternal death of the Fantasy Sky Dream Lord, there were not many people on the Fantasy Sky Dream clan who really reacted. But it was different on the side of the living being UN clan. They believed in reality. They lived in the only real world. They saw it all, saw the Fantasy Sky Dream Lord disappear into thin air, saw Zhang Zizai kill him, and felt the horror of the sword of creation. Killing a Taishan god realm existence alone, it can be said that only the legendary Zhang Yunting can do it. Doesn't this mean that Zhang Zizai has reached this level? In fact, it is not the case. The reason why he can be so relaxed is, first, relying on the terrifying Zilong Tower, and second, because all the means of the Fantasy Sky Dream Lord just let him restrain himself. In front of him, the Fantasy Sky Dream Lord was not a threat at all. If he dealt with other people, even the living being UN Lord or Zhang Yunhai, it would not be so easy. The false heavenly way is ultimately false in front of Zhang Zizai. Therefore, more than 1,000 gods of the living beings UN clan had already fallen into shock and stagnation at this time. They confirmed countless times, and when they finally confirmed the truth, they were actually trembling in their hearts. It only took a few months from defeating Ruokan to defeating Huan Tianmenzu, and countless Ruokans could not compare with Huan Tianmenzu, the master of the peak race. That was the miracle of the origin. Zhang Zizai, beyond the miracle. How terrible he is, the gods of the living beings UN clan have a firm answer in their hearts. The expressions of Ruokan and the living beings Yuanho are of course very wonderful. The two of them leaned against each other, looking at each other, their faces pale, they were frightened. From now on, they couldn't say a word, and even trembled a little. For them, such a result completely mocked their previous ignorance and stupidity. Now I'm afraid they can only find a crack in the ground to drill in. They didn't even dare to look directly at anyone, because at this moment, if they met anyone, they would seem to see them laughing at their stupidity. Nothing could be more embarrassing than now. Of course, they didn't dare to resent, because the fear in their hearts had completely eliminated their hostility towards Zhang Zizai. Now, it's not so difficult to admit that a person is terrible. I believe you all have the answer in your heart, so I won't say more. The Master of Life turned around and said to all the gods, and his voice was actually a little trembling. No one spoke, but the firm eyes of the gods showed that they had actually made a decision. From now on, Zhang Zizai's second mission here has been completed. However, for him, it was only partially completed. In another part, after he killed the Huantian Dream Lord, he took out a list in his hand, faced the gods of the Huantian Dream Clan, squinted his eyes, and said, "The Huantian Dream Clan was once my peak saint. Longshan harmed the common people and caused devastation. Huantian Dream Lord's sins are serious. I have made him pay the price of death, but the hatred between our peak dragon clan and you cannot end here. The person whose hands were stained with blood at the beginning will now they are all on this list. I have locked everyone on the list now. The rest can choose to go back to the Huantianmen clan. You still have a chance to recuperate, but if you are killed accidentally by me, no one will be blamed." Light appeared in his eyes. The light dispersed and reached the heads of more than 100 people. These more than 100 gods were basically the elites among the gods of the Huantian Dream Clan. For example, there were 3 gods. The 4th level has been locked by Zhang Zizai. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1422. The people I have targeted must die today, Zhang Zizai said. Next, he would kill them one by one to avenge his dead ancestors. The people in front of him were not miserable. The ancestors who were surrounded and killed at the beginning were truly pitiful. No one begged for mercy for them. Today, Zhang Zizai would not give these people in front of him a chance to beg for mercy. Karma, the sins committed in the past must be repaid. Huantianmenzu has already paid, and the rest are left. Unfortunately, the proud Huantianmen clan did not even believe that Huantianmenzu was dead at this time. They basically believed that Huantianmenzu had hidden himself and was looking for new opportunities, and Zhang Zizai had fallen into his confusion and bewilderment. Everyone, if he breaks the rules and comes to deal with us, then we also have the right to besiege him. He challenged our Lord Huantianmen, but he attacked us. We have no reason to let him slaughter us. That's right. If he attacks, we should not be polite. Just help Lord Huantianmen to kill him. Don't worry, no matter how strong the gods are, they can't stop us from joining forces. They were very calm. Even when Zhang Zizai held the Zilong sword and killed him with a cold expression, they were still not panicked at all, but were ready for battle. The first one is Lu Qinghua. Zhang Zizai locked onto a man. This man was the deputy general of Lord Huantianmen. He was in the Taishu heavenly god realm and had a total of 4 heavenly daos. His strength was about the same as Zhang Yongxiao. Moreover, he was now protected by many gods. It was definitely more difficult to kill him than Zhang Yongxiao, but now Zhang Zizai was no longer the Zhang Zizai of that time. Even the 5 heavenly ways of the Huantian Dream Lord are nourishing his destructive power. Compared with just now, he is now stronger, and he is still getting stronger. His destructive power is growing majestically and will never end. Once again, the sword of creation. The horror of this sword, the power of this sword, transcends the heaven and earth. Many people intercepted and blocked Lu Qinghua. Many gods blocked together, but they never thought that this was such an irresistible force. In the first moment, all the gods who blocked it were instantly shattered and disappeared. A total of more than a dozen gods died directly in the battle, which did not look like a fake. Moreover, no one could stop the sword of creation from killing Lu Qinghua on his head. He woke up and fled frantically, but even the Huantian Dream Lord could not avoid this move. How could he hide? Puff! Under one sword, the Taishu Tianshen realm died instantly. He committed countless sins, and too many gods died in his hands. Zhang Zizai killed this time only to avenge his ancestors. I said, I will only kill the enemies on the list, but if someone wants to die, I will be very generous and send him to the west. He has locked the person he wants to kill with light. Who is locked by Zhang Zizai can be seen at a glance. Just now, more than a dozen gods died in the battle, but most of them did not participate in that battle. They were gods born later. However, since they have made a choice, they need to be prepared for death. Dream Master. Zhang Zizai is crazy, show up quickly. Many people were frightened. Lu Qinghua had no resistance at all and was killed directly. This time it seemed real. They have already developed fear. At this desperate moment, everything can only be placed on the Dream Master of the illusion. Dream Master, show up, all the gods were shouting in despair. In fact, they were a little afraid of Zhang Zizai, especially those who were locked by Zhang Zizai. Seeing Lu Qinghua's death, they were already terrified. They knew how they relied on their numbers to kill people in that battle. Unfortunately, Huantian Dream Master never appeared from beginning to end, and while they were watching miserably, the existence of the second Taishu heavenly god realm had been killed by Zhang Zizai on the spot. This woman was Huantian Dream Master's sister, and she was also beautiful, but Zhang Zizai didn't hesitate for a moment and killed her directly. Then the third one, when this third god was directly crushed by Zhang Zizai's creation sword in the crowd, when he also died in battle, after Huantian Dream Master, although there were many gods, there was not even one Taishu heavenly god realm, and the strongest was only the owner of 3 heavenly ways. In the billions of years to come, before the existence of the 5 heavenly ways was born, they could only hide. The gods of Huantian Menlord realized that it was impossible for the 3 primordial gods to die without Huantian Menlord appearing. So far, the only possibility is that Huantian Menlord is dead. They all realized this problem dully. They suffered a blow that was more terrifying and unbelievable than death. Sad despair instantly enveloped them. In their eyes, Zhang Zizai became a devil in an instant. Huantian Menlord and the 3 phantom gods are all dead. It seems to be like this. This is not true, it can't be true. It seems, maybe, it's true. Despair was like the sea, swallowing everyone in an instant. They were very uncomfortable. Their faces were pale and they could hardly breathe. They dully watched Zhang Zizai rush into the crowd. In front of countless people who were desperate and dared not move, he raised his hand and fell with a knife. One by one, the gods who had committed sins on the list died directly at this moment. In front of the god of death, they didn't even have the courage to escape. Puff, puff. The Zilong sword pierced through the souls of the gods one by one, strangling everything. Just when the first person was frightened and started to flee in fear, the entire Huantian Men clan scattered instantly. They merged like frightened beasts, fleeing madly in all directions. Some even bumped into each other and almost killed people. Fear spread. Others can go as they please. Those who are locked by me, don't even think about surviving. Zhang Zizai's voice echoed in the world. It was the most terrifying nightmare, especially the locked people. They had already felt numb all over. They even cried. They were desperate and even knelt down to beg for mercy, but it was useless. When the sword of death passed by, the way of heaven was destroyed. Zhang Zizai's speed was too fast, and they who thought they had become immortal gods had already been scared. In less than a quarter of an hour, under his pursuit, all those who were not on the list fled. They completely scattered and fled desperately on the road of despair, and no one cared. As long as they were on the list, they basically died under Zhang Zizai's sword. In the entire Huantian Men clan, there were not many Taishishan gods left who possessed 3 heavenly paths. As for the remaining 1,000 or so gods with 1 or 2 heavenly paths, they were nothing to be afraid of.